We're back. I took a nap, and we're starting to work on this episode. Just for time etiquette, it is 5:11. I got back to my apartment roughly around 12-ish, noon-ish, 1-ish, 2-ish, 1-ish, 2-ish. This episode's called VAT Sims. And if it's Houdini specifically. And I only have one video to show the way I do it. So hope you enjoy that. So hopefully now I just have to work my way down really quick. So no brain, no thought. Let's get into it.
Hello, world. It is me, Nathaniel Roldan, and I'm going to teach you how to export a Houdini VAT into Unreal Engine. Here are my notable features. I'm using Houdini 21.0.440, and I'm using Unreal 5.5.4. So it's the latest somewhat version of Unreal and the latest version of Houdini. Right out of the gate, here's what I'm doing. This is my fluid sim. I'm specifically doing a fluid sim. This right here is all of my work that goes into it. The biggest thing is this particle fluid surface. Make sure your particle fluid surface is a surface polygon. It will default to surface VDB or surface polygon soup actually. Make sure it's on surface polygons. Everything else is but what you really need, secondly, is a file cache. Make sure you file cache your particle fluid surface. And also, notably, it uses a .NET, which makes the fluid force happen. Then you have an out. Typically, in some capacity, what has helped me is also adding a time shift after my cache. So I would cache it, out it, then time shift again, then out it again. That's a safe haven. Then what I do is I go out and find myself a vertex animation textures. If you're using older software or versions of people who've done fluid sims, if you're looking inside their stuff, it's more likely not you're going to get an error about exporting this, no matter what. That's like the first assumption. So make sure you are using the correct version up to date for your version, because if it's created 8 years ago, then it's not going to work. So you go here, and what you have to make sure you have checked are these things. First of all, it has to be a dynamic mesh fluid if you're going for a fluid. Make sure that the start and end are already capped. They should be. And then make sure your input geometry is going to your out, whatever that's going to be, which mine is the out fluid final like I showed. Second, you would also have to make sure that you import your geometry with a cache. And that's why the cache is the second most important thing. Next to the third thing would be the out. Then, that's not the last thing. What you also have to do is make sure that you click support real-time instancing. This will not be checked. Why? Because you need a JSON file in which it needs to read the range of this fluid dynamic system. Without it, it will not be able to interpret it if you're gonna put it in a Niagara system or just exist in Unreal Engine. And then otherwise, everything is good. When you've done that, you can go to input. No, you can you can rename it as well. Forgot. So I'm going to rename it 4. And I'm going to first do a first pass. So I will render that. And then do a second pass. Render that. And then when I've rendered those, you will see it wherever you sent it to on your export. And this is my other version I did for my export. But essentially, it will create a folder called export for you. And then whatever your Houdini project is called, and then it will give you these three things. Without the one check mark, when you're on second pass, it grays out everything. But essentially, if you do not check this, the support real-time instancing, you will not see this data folder. You need the data folder, and you need to open the data folder, and it will open Visual Studio. Make sure you have Visual Studio if you don't already. And it will show you this information. This information is good. You cannot drop the JSON file into Unreal Engine. You gotta put in the parameters yourself, which sucks, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And then in your geode, you will see one FBX. And then in your text file, you will find 4 of these. What you really need is just these 3. You need the lookup, the position, and the rot. What you would get error-wise if you did an older version of this is that it would be an error on one of the nodes in Houdini that it can't render a lookup. I think you just need a more up-to-date version. If you don't, then it's not going to work. Period. I just know that. So what you got to do next is open Unreal, and here's what the trial and error I had to go through. So this is my old ones. These are some other ones as well. I'm going to find whatever that is. Delete that. But essentially, these are the successful ones. You want this. This is great. So I'm just going to move these. And what you got to do is, for how I format things, I made a VAT folder. You will not have a VAT folder initially. And you will just have to also drop in the folders that are created from the file itself. So you go to your desktop or wherever it is, go here, and you can just drag and drop the geode one, and you can drag and drop the text one. You can drag and drop the geo one, and you can drag and drop the text one. For this instance, since I've already have folders for them, I'm just going to drag in the FBX of it. Notably, here is the information that you need. Just double check. Anything closed, you don't really have to worry about. I think, yes. That is all. So then you press import, and then it imports, and it looks like this. Notably, when I dragged it in, I didn't really touch anything. So if I need to touch anything later, I don't know. There were issues with your export. Oh, it will say no smoothing group information was found. That's fine. That's a normal thing. What we need to create is a material. So I will actually make the material from the ground up. So once you drag in your mesh, you go into your mesh first. Let's start off with that. Disable enable nanite support. It's kind of buggy when it comes to that. Then also make sure you select use full version UVs and use high precision tangent basis. And make sure you click these apply changes. If you don't, they won't make the apply changes. So like that, I unchecked it, but then it checked itself again. So apply the changes, and it should be good. Next, you want to drag in your text files. So I'm just gonna make a new folder for this because I've been iterating on this and figuring out how to do it. Then you open it again, and you go into your text files right here. and you want to get these three. The fourth one is color. If you have a specific color in mind, then that's okay. I am using a second monitor. That's why you see half of it a little bit. And then you select these, and then you go to scripted asset actions. Make sure as well that you have Houdini engine. If you don't have Houdini engine already, have that installed. And then I click Houdini config textures for VAT HDR. The main thing about textures is, from what I've learned, is save that when you go into a texture, for all the textures, they need to have a filter. The texture filter, and it has to be on nearest. If it's not on nearest, then it's not going to work. Then after that, you will need to make a material, which I was talking about. So let's make a material. So if I go into here and press material, and I call it VAT final fluid, you go into it and you right click, and with the plugin, make sure as well that you have settings and show plugin content. If you don't have that, it will not show the plugin content even if you have Houdini engine on. You right click and you go dynamic meshing. That's what you need. You link it there. And here are the things you need to link up. Normal tangent space to a normal, and then make sure that tangent space normal is off. So normal, it's checked on. We need that off. And then we can get world position offset. And then we also want to make sure that we have enough UVs. So we go down here, number of UVs, 4. So that's what you need. And then you go to the 1, the 2, and the 3. That should be your UVs. You can add, this is where the other color would go, but I just press 3 and I left click to get a parameter that I can just do color. Doesn't really matter the color because this will become an instance. So what you do is you go back out, find your VAT fluid ground or whatever it is you're doing, and you create a material instance. After that, you should create it. Make sure you name it correctly though, but this is just for showcasing purposes. Here are the important things you need now. Make sure you check mark this. This is under Houdini VAT. And you can look these up with the hotkeys of HOS. And then I got that. And then I want rot. There it is. And then look up. Then you should see this weird tesseract thing, which is fine. Next, you need to make sure that you have support legacy parameters and instancing. This is where the JSON file comes in handy. You make sure you check mark this and you check mark this as well. And this is the information that you have to put in via your JSON file. So let's do that. So that is 353, 345, 50. And this depends on your own fluid system that you're doing. So these are not going to be probably the same parameters as you're doing for yours. And there, it looks like that now. Then what you can also do is check mark Houdini frames per second and adjust this the how fast it's gonna be. I just put it at 10 because it's just the smaller it is, the slower it is, the higher it is, the more faster it is. And then I save. Now, with that out of the way, we have to make sure we click on our thing. Sometimes it's kind of finicky. You can't really like click where it is. You have to like guess, but you can also find it on your outliner if you need to find it. And I will go to fluid, it's like final fluid, yeah, VAT Fluid. So it's Fluid Crown, actually called. This is great. Fluid Crown. And it will look like this. Do not be scared. Also, in the fluid instance, you can adjust the color. So it doesn't have to be blue. It can be orange. This is where the tricky part is. What you gotta do, I'm gonna go into my phone because I want to actually make a freaking edit of this, is that I'm gonna just sync it up. You have to restart your computer. If you don't, then you're cooked. What you can also do, in just for pre-safety, is build geometry, and you can close it, and it will feel more expansive, which is another thing that is kind of finicky. And after that, you close everything, make sure you're saving everything, and then you close this, and you close this, and then I'm gonna end this recording, but I'm gonna go onto my phone version when this happens. Now the recording is ended. I'm going to go to here and then restart my whole computer. So we just wait. Then you're logged in. You open up Unreal to your project, which my project is to Project Seaport. No, it's this one. Baldur's Gate. And now, after this, when it loads, you should see your full fluid sim. And it should not make any weird buggy things. Notably, initially, when you have nanite, I'm going to just show you here. And you enabled nanite support, and you applied it, you would get this artifacting, which is very weird, and we don't like that. So we have to make sure that's off. And when it's off, we all good. But essentially, this is what you want. This is your fluid sim. Now we're gonna do, how do you put it into a Niagara system? We back. We're gonna put it in a Niagara system now because now it's working. What you gotta do is this. You go to your Niagara folder or wherever you're gonna put your Niagara stuff. You're gonna right click, you press Niagara system, and for this case scenario, I'm just gonna do a fountain. And then ns underscore final or fluid crown. And you go here, and you don't need Houdini Niagara. Houdini Niagara works with the plugin for works for Niagara exporting from Houdini. If you want specifically points. If you want like a VAT thing, like what I'm doing, you just don't need it. But you need Houdini engine. So then you go to sprite renderer, and then you go to take this out. You don't need a sprite. That's why it's confusing me. You go to mesh render, and you see all these. So you do the drop down here, and you pick your static mesh, whatever it's called, which mine is called 4. And then you're going to see this. It's very scary, I know. But you need to enable material override. So that way you can put the material on it. And this will show up. So you press the plus, you go underneath, and then you go drop down, and then you find the material that has I think it's this. And then there you go. And to control it, you can go to spawn rates, because I'm doing the fountain specifically, and I can just press 1. And I can probably drop the shape location, velocity, all uniform, gravity force, and velocity. Okay, no velocity. And then no gravity. There you go. And then if I dragged it, wait, this is fluid crown instance 1. Sorry, did I do it wrong? Yeah, sorry. Crown, yeah, I need fluid crown instance 1. I was like, man, this is too good. There you go. So, then you locate your Niagara system, which is fluid crown. And there it is. Oh, I made a copy. Oh no, just lag, sorry. Notably, this has a collision. How do you take out the collision, you might ask? Thank you for asking, Nathan. What you do is you click on your static mesh, and then you can just put collision. You can type in collision, and the collision preset, default, no collision. And you're good. You can walk over it. In a Niagara system, you can easily just walk over it, which is kind of neat. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel if you've learned a lot from this. Thank you. Okay, after hours of long debate, the question remains, how do you make materials? Notably with my lava thing, the text coordinates were the big thing that is a game changer when it comes to showing the stuff. And I didn't have to look at it. I honestly, what it took me was me just minding my own business and being like, huh, let me just step back. Now let me think about what time it is. Just like work it out. Not in like a long term form way, but like exhausted. And I'm just like, okay, my goal is to get this. So I started off with this. This is my older version. And I was like, okay. Notably, it had to be something with the textures. I clocked that because I was like, okay, maybe it's base colors it can only work with, which is weird. But then I wanted to figure out a oscillating parameter. So this is what that is, where it controls the speed and multiplies it, makes it go into like a sine, multiplies it again, adds it again, brings it back to 1, which lerps it from my crust color to my lava color, which I just like color picked from actual lava. And then I put in an add just to combine it with both of these. Wondering like, hey, maybe that's gonna work, maybe it doesn't work. And let's just show you the start at first. So I'm gonna unplug this, Unplug this, unplug this, and then I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go add, and then I'm gonna go to base color because that's the only thing I really have to touch, just the base color. Anything else is add-on. Yeah, wait, and then I get this. And when you press play, I'm just showing you the frames. The frames are actually pretty good. I also made it more darker. You can see the vertexes still. It's like, oh my gosh, but it's oscillating. It's kind of cool. Then, out of nowhere, I was like, man, since level of detail has its own separate types of, not coordinates, but just like values, what happens if I just mess with this? This was just out of thought, out of brain. Not even looked it up on ChatGPT or anything, or Claude. Which I gotta admit, sometimes Claude kind of picked up then more ChatGPT in some case when I was in dire need. But look at this. There's a difference. There's a huge difference. And that's great. So now it does that. But what happens if you do it at a bigger number than that? The text chord. Just wait. I think it's reading the base. Because what I was like also trying to think was the idea of the flat shade, and then there is the wireframe, and I think 0 is the wireframe, and then 1 is just like the flat shade. I don't even know what 2 is. 2 seems more cohesive. So I think the type of text chord that you have is the type of like lava-like feeling you're gonna get, which is, or just like smooth textured, which makes sense now, which makes so much sense. So I would connect my metallic to my roughness because that's what similar was to my lava. Then I would put this multiply to the emissive color because the multiply over here was connected to the emissive color. And for this normal, I would just have to connect it to my base color so we can read it. If it doesn't, let's see what it looks like. Also, let's have it at 0, 0, just so you can see. Is that I think you just need, if you're going to work with textures, have your text chord be greater than 0. That way, you don't have this. Because I wanted to avoid, yeah, this. Which was so annoying. So what I did was I just put, let's put 2. Wait, also let's connect it. So 0, 0, and then we connect it. And notably, if I want to adjust the cut, yeah, this is what it looks like. It's kind of weird. But if I want to adjust the color in the Niagara system, I just can't, and I'm just gonna accept that because I think because you need either like it being cached, so that's why you do like Niagara. But I'm just using the normal Niagara system, even though I have the plugin of Houdini Niagara, which is a weird thing. I think also there's a weird case in point that I think I'm supposed to have the JSON be able to import smoothly. I think in the newer version, I've seen like some people say in the Houdini, not Reddit, but like just in general, like Houdini like forums, is that I think they updated it so you're unable to like actually put the JSON thing, or when you put the JSON thing, it's supposed to make you a master material. You don't make the material itself, which is very odd. But anyways, I'm gonna put this to 2 and see where that goes. Because the main thing was that with the initial like looking back and forth with the nanite thing, I didn't want to like have like I can cheat it so I can have just like one fixed camera, but that's not technical art, bro. That's going halfway, you know? You got to go the extra mile. Believe in what can be possible. And look at this. I think it becomes sort of like I would have gave up and I would never have achieved this. So look at this. This is great. Add some steam. And look at this. Look, I came from this, and then I figured out in Niagara, and then I figured out more smoothing, and then with the smoothing, I got into these, and this is what it looks like with that. And then this is just in a format. But now look, we have now gotten to here, which is very metallic. It's giving like a very metallic look, which I kind of enjoy. Like I want it to like splash and be like, and then I want like a dissolve look. So I'm gonna make a dissolve material, and you'll see that soon. And lastly, the magnum opus of it all, this little guy right here. How did I do this? Well, here are the parameters. The biggest parameter is the speed control. If you go to 0 and then you go to 1, it depends of how snappy it is or how visually snappy it will show. So let's say, for example, we put it at 0. When we go to 0, we just only see the outline of the dissolve. I have to actually just give thanks to this guy right here. He's the goat. He's the man of everyone's dreams. Essentially, I followed loosely his tutorial and then try to fill it into my own and how it works. So basically, yes, and then you go to 1, and then it becomes very snappy. Notably, when it comes to a vat in particular, I think this is how I would have to control the parameters of my material. It would be through an instance. It cannot be through a Niagara system unless it is spawning the appropriate amount of whatever it is that I'm trying to spawn. But essentially, how did I go about it? Well, this is from his tutorial, which is pretty much the dissolve feature. So I'm trying to do this. Make sure that you have a text cord and an add in some capacity, or just a text cord in general, because without it, because he didn't have one, then you're gonna find that artifact again with like the triangles. I'll even show you. So when you press this, and then you go here, you're gonna see the artifacting again happen. But when you have a text cord, then that is like my way of saying yes, you have to have that saturation, and then 1 minus goes into the opacity mask. These go up here. I gotta like fix stuff. I'm becoming the people who do that. Then the saturate goes into the dissolved with, which what that is essentially, I can show you when I organize this, is that it allows you to smooth out the transition. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look. So it's transition smoothness. So if we reset it to 0, it's the intensity of just how bright it is just bigger when it's 0, but when it's like a higher number, if it dissolves, it gives more of like from the lava texture, which is this is the base lava texture. So maybe I probably want to add another like sine cosine on this, maybe. I don't know. It's up to me. But that makes the light work. And then I know in the Niagara system, I can make this just like ended there, like pop, pop, pop if I wanted to. Maybe more slower, like a slow dissolve is what I'm going for. But dissolve with if I put it to 0.5, I also love the residue aspect of it. Oh my gosh, I just love it. But then when you go to 0, or yeah, 0, let's just go to 0 with the dissolve with. It's the coloration that you can see. So if I went higher, then you're going to see more of the it's like a pop. But essentially, yes. I just want to finick around with the speed controls. That way I can get that nice dissolve effect when I do like my finalized splash. But this was an example of how I made a lava splat and how I'm going to parameterize it. I didn't have to make any changes of like UVs. UVs don't really matter as much as putting in a node in Houdini. And look at this frame rate. This is better than anything I could ever imagine for. So I am very happy with this. This took a while to learn and to understand. So hopefully I can make a better video, so it's more succinct that way. Anyways, thank you for enjoying this video. Share it with someone who needs this, or I don't know. And yeah, see ya.